Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another live stream. So it is Wednesday, the 10th of July. And yeah, of course, we are going to run through the Bitcoin technical analysis. We're going to go through what is going on, what we can kind of expect in the near-term future, and we can also talk about yeah, of course, that long trade that I am currently in on Bitcoin as well, and yeah, see sort of what my expectations are for that trade as well. So yeah, of course, before we get into it, please make sure that you do smash that thumbs up button. Really helps me out, really helps the channel out, and I can continue to bring this content to you. And also, if you are new, make sure that you do subscribe as well, and turn that bell notification on so that you never ever miss another another live stream. But yeah, enough of that. Let's jump into it. Let's talk about what is going on, and yeah, let's kind of see what we can expect, right? So yeah, let's zoom out. Okay, let's look at the larger time frame, right? And then we'll sort of zoom in. Okay, we'll zoom in into the lower time frames and see what's going on a little bit more locally. So yeah, for me right now. Okay, for me right now, looking at this, right, of course, I've entered into the long trade off of, this like slight failed auction that we had, if I can find it. Here we go. Okay, so I entered into the long trade off of that like slight failed auction that we formed of that range low, and ideally I was looking for a similar setup to what we were seeing back here. Of course, I talked a lot about it yesterday, so I won't go into detail there. But initially, right, the context is I was looking for the context to be the same as we had back here when we formed that failed auction of the range low. But on this failed auction, okay, the context was very different because we didn't have extreme fear in the markets at this period where we did have it back here, and we had just right. Well, that was portrayed by the mass shorts that we had coming in at the lows, right? Of course, we then started to see that rise. We formed the failed auction, loads of trap traders at the low. They had to cover, pushing the price higher, right? And that's kind of what I was looking for here. We didn't get that, right? We didn't get the mass fear down here because we didn't get the absurd amount of shorts opening up on this break towards the downside. So again, the context is a little bit different. There is at this moment in time only one reason why price there is only one reason why price will rise, okay, and that will be new long trades coming in, okay, up until we get to about $60,000, where we will then actually come into some shorts. So if we just take a look at that, let's look at it on the 8 hour just to make it a little bit clearer for ourselves. So yeah, we can see up here at like 59,500 to 60,500. So in that like $1,000 range there, right? We do. Oh, sorry. Sorry. In that $1,000 range there, we had 38 million new long trades coming in. Right, short trades, right? 38 million new short trades coming in. Okay, a little bit after that, we also had 28 million new short trades coming in. kind of between 57 650 and $60,500 again. Okay, so we had a lot of shorts coming in at this level. Okay, but those shorts aren't really in any in any worries at this moment in time. They're not really fearful. Okay, maybe some of them a little bit, right? Because earlier today they were underwater, okay, or offside, right? Some of them were, okay, but a lot of them are still in a little bit of a profit here, okay. A lot of them are still in a bit of a profit, right? So they're not too worried about, about their positions at this moment in time. However, if price does start to rise a little bit more, that's when I feel these short traders will start to get a little bit worried. Okay, maybe they'll start to cover, which would initially give Bitcoin a reason to rise. Okay, we understood, and I told the team. Let's take a look at the 30-minute. Right, I was telling the team where were we here. So this was the rise that we had very early this morning. Okay, very very early this morning at 5 a.m. I was still asleep at this moment in time, but we had, a large amount of volume coming in, right? We had 19 million new long trades coming in. So, initially this is kind of what we want to see. We unfortunately didn't see that continue after we got this, right? We then started to see volume just diminish. We started to see delta diminish as well, and then of course turn into negative delta there. So of course that continuation, right, did not happen. And now what has happened, okay, is that we've got these 19 million new long trades that then became emotional, okay, then became underwater, and all of a lot of these are underwater at this moment in time. So there is still a possibility, right, that we could actually go lower from here, because these long trades will have to cover, right? So at this moment in time, the market is very uncertain, in my opinion. Okay, there's no clear direction in where price is going to go. And I've said this ever since I entered into this trade, that this is a little bit of a harder trade than, for example, this short trade from here, this long trade from here, this short trade from here, even the long trade from here. It's a and the short trade from here. It's a much harder trade, because again, right, using this one as an example, the context is very different, right? We had mass shorts at the low, right? So there is, for me, after forming the failed auction, how I look at this is I think, okay, there's only one real way, only one real direction that price can go after forming the failed auction, which is up, okay? Because, right, we have a lot of trap traders down here. They're going to be emotional. They're going to most likely cover, pushing the price higher, right? But when you do not have that, okay, at a key level like here, then it's a little bit harder to understand where price is most probably going to go. Okay, it's a little bit harder to predict where it's going to go, right? Because right now we have to anticipate longs to come in, right? We can't at this moment in time see longs coming in. Yes, we had a little bit, but then if we look at it, okay, it's 19 million new long trades coming in, but look at the volume, right? The volume was it was 94 million. Okay, so we had like one little bit less, but like roughly 1/5, okay, of the entire volume was new longs coming in. Okay, there was only 1/5, so it's not a considerable amount as well. So for me, like, this isn't even like a huge sign of strength, right? We would like to see a lot more positive delta than this. The volume's good. I like the volume. It's good, right? Okay, I'd consider that anything close to like 100 million is high volume. Okay, I consider that high volume, like a high volume spike, right? Anything below that, okay, yes, it's a volume spike, but it's not anything that I consider very bullish. Okay, if we are looking for like a move with high volume, high positive delta or negative delta if price is pulling back. So yeah, for me, this, it was nice to see lots of longs coming in, okay, but it wasn't really enough. We didn't again then get that continuation, right? We didn't get the continuation because you can see here delta just diminished, volume also diminished as well, right? So at this moment in time, the only way for price to rise, like I said, is for those new long trades to come in, right? So this is why this trade is just a lot more difficult than the previous higher time frame swing trades that we were looking at. For example, this one here, this one here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. Okay, I'm not counting this one from all-time high, even though it did turn into a swing trade, but because I entered into that on a much lower time frame perspective, right? But all of these, okay, and I even entered into a short trade here actually as well for a little bit of a smaller swing trade, right? But all of these, okay, all of these had like a clear, identifiable direction. Okay, of course, nothing is ever 100%. I understand that, right? But I know what my probabilities are. I know what my statistics are, right? When we do have mass shorts coming in at the low, we form the failed auction. Okay, the majority of the time, all right, we see price rising, and vice versa for like a failed auction of a high, okay, of a major pivotal high. So here it's just very difficult to say, right, price is going to go higher, right? So that's why my confidence in this trade is lacking, right? I can admit that, right? My confidence in this trade is lacking, okay, and that's initially why I entered into the trade with lower capital than I usually would. So yeah, my confidence is just a little bit, is still lacking, and I still feel that a move down from here is pretty probable. I still do feel, I still do feel that is a possibility. And what I was actually talking about this morning in the daily market update or telling the team in the daily market update this morning, right, was that we had this monthly VWAP, which would have been a really, really important level. Okay, a really important level because if we go to the hourly, we can see throughout this whole month, okay, this VWAP has just been holding price down, right? Just continuously holding price down, right? We finally got above it, okay, and we got some, slight bullish momentum, right, with the new longs coming in. Again, it wasn't enough to keep price going. Okay, and now what has happened, okay, is that we've like failed auctioned that with all of these highs here, right? So I was telling the team this morning in the daily market update that this is a nice possible short trade off of that failed auction, right? This is a possible nice short trade off of the failed auction because we have, we now have trap longs at the high, right? We're taking out the liquidity from here, okay? We are forming failed auction of like a pretty key level, which is this monthly VWAP. So yeah, initially, right, I did enter into a small short trade on this as well, a very small short trade on one of my other accounts. Okay, so I am also short from here as well, and this is initially just more of like an intraday trade, right? I'm looking just for a little bit, a little bit lower. We'll see. Okay, we could possibly take it down to these lows here. But yeah, we will have to wait and see. Of course, I'm looking for like my stop loss. Well, I put my stop loss above this high here. So ideally, I would like to see these lows for this to be, valid for like a good risk to reward, right? So yeah, initially I am looking for like these lows to be taken out, and then from there, okay, it doesn't get extremely bearish, right? Even if we do come down here, because I'm still, aware of what the recent trend has been within Bitcoin, and that is, we have a major pivotal low, right? We then see price rise, okay, or pull back. In this instance, price has risen, okay. Then we see price fall, okay. We see price pull back, or if it's in a different scenario, we could actually see price rising, and I'll show you that example, okay. But initially, in this example, forming a higher low, right? Price comes back up again, right? And then we see price pull back, taking out the higher low for then a like swing value pattern or a failed auction pattern, okay? And then we go from there, right? This is something that we've seen quite a lot especially on this 8-hour time frame. I've walked through it before. This has happened 4 times before. So we had major pivotal high, we had the lower high here, okay, then we had the swing value pattern of that, right? There was one example, right? We also had this example here where we had the major pivotal low range low here. We had the higher low here. Okay. We then took out that higher low with the swing value pattern, rise towards the upside, took it out again with a failed auction, rise towards the upside. Okay. We also had another example of that with, where are we? We also had another example with this here, right? So we had major pivotal high. We had the front run of it with the lower high here, okay, and then we took that level out with a swing value pattern there, okay. So this is kind of something that I've been building up statistically recently, and this is something that we could view possibly down here, right, where we swing value pattern failed auction, okay, and then we get the move up, right? So I'm still not completely ruling out this move up to maybe 65,000 and maybe back up to all-time high as well, right? I'm not ruling that out. But yeah, I am just aware, okay, that, we could get a move down again before we then start to see a rise. And I mean, if we don't get any, bullish setup here, and then we come back down and we take out this low, of course, I'll get stopped out of the long. And that's when I'm talking about looking for $51,700. And then if we lose that, okay, then I'd be looking for like, maybe 47. There's a tiny bit of a support coming in at 47,000, but mainly it would be $43,000, right? $43,000, as I've talked about this a lot. Okay, so we have 51,700 here for a possible long trade. If we get the bullish reaction down here, if we don't, okay, then we're looking for $43,000. And we've walked through this, especially yesterday. We walked through the major support that we had at this level. It is a very important level. And I've also walked through that we could see something like 2021, right? We could see something like 2021 and going into 2022 as well, where we saw this massive rise up, this big pullback here, okay, scaring everybody out of the market, shaking all of the the weak hands out of the market, then pushing price higher to a new all-time high. Again, I'll go over it briefly, okay, but what was happening to the stock market at that time, right? The stock market was actually rising in that period of time here, okay, whilst Bitcoin was having this rise. Then Bitcoin had the pullback, right? What happened to the stock market? Well, the stock market continued to rise with it, right? And then Bitcoin started to rise again and then made a new all-time high. And of course, the the stock market was doing that as well. All right, so the stock market was continuously making new highs and continuously making new all-time highs, even while Bitcoin was having this big pullback, right? And we're kind of seeing the same thing now, right? And I think this is very, very important, and I think this is being very overlooked at this moment in time. Okay, if we do get a big move down to $43,000, right, a lot of people are going to be coming out and saying that the bull market is over. Okay, I'm not convinced that the bull market is over unless we break $43,000. We lose that. Okay, and then I would say, right, okay, we can look for much lower prices here. Reason being, okay, is because first of all, we've got major support there, but remember, I'm still viewing this as a range. Okay, I'm still viewing this as a range. Mid range is at $43,000, right? If you are a regular watcher of the channel, you will know how I trade ranges. Okay, we can go back to, a few weeks ago where I was, live trading on here as well. Okay, and we were trading this range, right? And initially, okay, this was the first trade that we took in the range, right? It was a long trade from down here at range low, right? And we saw price rise all the way up to range high. Okay, here was the example here. So this is where I longed. We took that all the way up to range high. Of course, I took a TP1 at the mid-range, okay, then TP2 at range high. Okay, there was actually a short trade from here. Unfortunately, I missed it because I was asleep. But I then, the next day, okay, took a long trade again from the exact same level, right? And that hit the price target at the range high. But what, of course, did I do, and what was I expecting? Right. Well, I was expecting first of all a rise to mid range, where from there I take a TP1 because I understand that there is a high probability as well. Okay, that we could reject from that and then come back down to range low. If we can't get above the mid range, okay, and we do reject from it, then we're expected to pull back, right? We're expected to pull back from to where we've come from. Okay, and again, right, you can see, right, we saw that, right, there was the first long, here was the second long. It's a little bit covered at the moment in time. So there you go. Okay, there was the second long trade. What happened, right? We came up, and there you go. There was a perfect example. We came up to mid range, we rejected, we came back down. I was still in the trade, and then we came up to range high, right? Where I then took the short trade. Again, what happened here? Price pulled back to mid range. We bounced off of that, came back up to range high, right? And then we pulled back to all the way back down to range low. Okay, so this is why the mid range is always a very, very important level for myself, and that's why this is why my thesis is if we lose this, range low is more probable. Okay, which is at like $15,000. Doesn't mean prices, doesn't mean we're going to go down to $15,000. No, of course not. Okay, but that statistically is where price will most likely go. Okay, statistically, on a statistical basis, that is where you are actually looking for price to go. So that's why, right, I am looking at this as okay, $43,000. That's the line in the sand. If we hold that, we look bullish there. I look for a long to take that up to all-time high. Of course, at the same time, I want to be this. I want to be seeing the stock market make continuous new all-time highs and continuously rising. Reason being, okay, the reason being is because I want to, right, see something that happened back in 2021. Right, if we can see what happened back in 2021, where the stock market continued to rise as Bitcoin was pulling back, Bitcoin then started to rise whilst the stock market was continuing to rise again, okay, then I just do not see a reason why Bitcoin cannot make a new all-time high. Okay, so of course, this is what we want to take advantage of. However, if Bitcoin loses $43,000, we come lower. Let's say the stock market is also pulling back as well. It doesn't fill me with much confidence that we're going to make a new all-time high. And and then I'm more confident that, we're in a bear market, we're going to see lower prices from there. Okay, so that's like my broader view on the market at this moment in time. Okay, I like to talk about my broader view on the market as well because I understand, I am, both like a short term. I like to invest across all the time frames, right? Sometimes I do like to take a day trade here and there, right? Sometimes the majority of the time I'm taking swing trades, but you know, on those occasions as well, when I need to, right, I'm looking for those long-term investments as well, right? I'm looking to, again, going back to, a few streams ago when I was talking about when and why I was buying Bitcoin down here. Okay, and of course, that has been a really nice long-term investment for myself. Okay, and of course, I took some profit off of that, and this was a spot buy, right? This wasn't a long trade. Okay, of course, I was longing on the way up, right? But okay, this was just for my spot buy, for my spot portfolio, my hodl portfolio, right? I was buying and accumulating Bitcoin down here, okay, and this was a good long-term investment, right? So, of course, I'm looking for investments across the board, right? I'm looking for the long-term investments, the medium-term investments, and the short-term investments. Okay, short-term investments being my day trades, which of course I don't take a lot of day trades, especially not at the moment. It depends, right? Some weeks I can take loads of day trades, other weeks, I'm not. The majority of the time I'm taking these bigger swing trades, right? That's my preferred way to trade because I understand that the probabilities are actually in your favor as well, okay? The probabilities are in your favor when you're looking at the higher probability trades when you swing trading, right? And it's exactly like when you are like long-term investing, right? Of course, if you just buy at a random price, okay, let's say now is not a terrible idea to buy for long term, I don't think. But let's just say you're buying like near all time high. Okay, you're buying near all time high. that's a bad long-term investment in my opinion. Yes, I understand, right? Many people have targets for 100k Bitcoin. So yes, in the long term, okay, yes, that could be a good investment, right? For me and how my mindset works in this, that is a terrible investment. Sorry, not longing, buying up here, like a spot buy up here, is a terrible investment, right? Exactly like here was a terrible investment, okay, and here was a terrible investment to spot buy, right? For long term, okay, I am looking for these big pullbacks, these big bear markets, right, to then accumulate, right? This is the only time that I'm accumulating when price is down at lows, okay, and the whole market is incredibly fearful. This is when I'm looking to accumulate, right? I'm not looking to accumulate here. Right, I'm not looking to buy spot here. Yes, I'll take the odd long trade here and there. Well, I will be longing on the way up when the setups present themselves to me, right? But again, with long-term investing, you also have to have a strategy with that as well. You can't just buy and expect price to continue to go up. Okay, so you have to be looking for a strategy there at the same time, right? You have to be looking at a strategy even when you're long-term investing, right? Again, whenever I buy Bitcoin on spot, okay, it is only when Bitcoin is in a bear market. That's it. Okay, that's it. The first time I bought Bitcoin was in the COVID crash. Right, I already had a little bit of experience in the markets. Okay, and I understood back then. Okay, you buy when the prices are low, and you sell when prices are high. So I understood down here. Okay, and I admit, this is when I got into crypto. This is when I got a little bit lucky. Right, I did buy, and I took advantage of this huge move up, and I can't hide the fact that, of course, I did make quite a considerable amount of money on that move up. But a lot of it was it was by accident, right? Of course, I never expected that to happen. To be honest with you, I didn't expect it to go that high, but initially it did, right? But again, it just goes back to, look to buy at the lows, right? Look to buy at the lows, even if you are just looking to invest for the long term. But then that also leads into, like day trading and swing trading as well. Okay, you don't want to, I feel anyway, you don't want to be following the trend. Okay, you want to catch that trend before that trend starts. Okay, and a lot of people say you can't predict the bottom, right? i'd I agree with it, but I disagree with it to an extent, right? For example, this long trade that we took here, of course, I didn't long the exact bottom, right? I waited for that failed auction to then long, right? But I still consider that I longed this bottom, right? I'd say that I long the bottom. Yes, the long trade, when I entered into the long trade, it was at 59,250. Okay, so it was just around there. Okay, so it wasn't the exact bottom, right? But again, right, long-term investing, you're looking to buy low, sell high, but that can lead into the medium term and the short term, right? You want to look to long on the pullbacks, right, and take advantage of the rises. You want to short on the rises to take advantage of the pullbacks, right? Again, you know, you can say that you can't perfectly predict the tops and perfectly predict the bottoms, but I'd argue and say you you kind of can. You kind of can, right? Again, I shorted that there, right? I longed that there. What else we were looking at? I longed the top here. That was I took quite a few long trades up there, to be honest. Sorry, quite a few short trades up there as well. But I disagree with the fact that you can't perfectly predict. But I wouldn't use the word predict, okay? Because I think predicting, trying to predict, I just don't think it's the right terminology for it. But here, I saw the setup, I took the setup. Did I think that this was going to be, um, such a major pivotal high? No, okay, I didn't, right? But it ended up being that, right? That's what it happened, okay? It ended up being that. So no, right? I'm not perfectly predicting the low or perfectly predicting the high, right? I'm looking for the setup, right? I get the setup and, here, okay, and that was just an amazing low. Did I expect this to come all the way up to where it did? No, initially I didn't, right? All I was actually looking for was just a rise back up to these highs here, right? Which is exactly where I took profit off of the table, right? I still had some left in the trade, of course, as I always do, right? That's what I preach quite a lot as well. I like to leave a little bit left in the trade to see if we can take advantage of any more price action towards the upside. And that's exactly what I did here. Because again, back here, I was looking at this range and I was thinking, right, okay, we've come to the mid range here. Right, I have to take some profit off the table here because we know how strong this level is as resistance and support and resistance. Okay, but at the same time, if we can get above this, then we can be looking for range high. We didn't quite make it to range high, but still, we came up to value area high. And you can see, right, again, I haven't predicted where the low is. I've just seen a really nice setup. I've taken it, okay, and it has just happened to be the low, okay, or just like a major low, right? Of course, we have now taken it out, okay. But yeah, again, to all the people that say you can't perfectly predict the bottom or perfectly predict the top, I'd say, yeah, okay, you can't do that, but I'd argue it. I'd argue against it and say that yeah, you can't predict it, but right, you can find the setup, you can take the setup, and it can happen to be the major pivotal point, right? It can happen to be the low. It can happen to be the high, right? Of course, we're not predicting it to, okay? We're not predicting it to be, but initially, right? It can happen. So yeah, that's just sort of like a really important thing to think about as well. And that's how I like to look for my trades. I don't like to long I don't like to long when the market is going up. I just don't like it because I just feel like, I've missed the majority of the move. And then, I feel like I'm going like taking a thousand steps back, a million steps back, and taking myself back to a retail trader where, that's how I would trade, okay, where I would follow the momentum of the market. I mean, it's not a bad idea. To follow the momentum of the market. But I feel that only really works when you're looking at it in a long-term perspective, right? And this is all like personal opinion, okay? This is what has worked for me, okay? Of course, it may not work for you, right? Maybe following the momentum does actually work for you, right? But for me, what works is for longing as prices pulling back, looking for those major pivotal points, and then looking for when the retail traders are on one side of the market are very, very fearful, okay, or in that FOMO stage, right? I'd say all of the a lot of retail traders down here were fearful, okay. A lot of retail traders up here had FOMO, okay. That's how I like to view it, right? When price is pulling back and we see lots of new shorts opening up, okay, price starts to rise, okay, then we understood there's a lot of fear in the market here, and now there's even more fear coming in because these short trades, okay, who were expecting this big crash, okay, are now offside, okay, they're now underwater, right? So they're even more fearful because they're fearful that the market's going to go down, okay, but then they're also fearful that now their short trade's going to get stopped out, okay. So they're sweating, they're pulling their hair out, okay, they end up covering, right, initially pushing that price higher. And then, how I like to look at it here is that, FOMO, right? It's FOMO. These new longs coming in are FOMO, right? We understand. What did we have? It was 75 odd million new long trades coming in up here, right? And those were FOMO longs expecting all-time high. Again, they just got completely wrecked on that. So again, that's why I will never follow momentum, and I will never give into FOMO, and I will never give into fear. Okay, that's a very important thing, I think, in like extracting some real profits out of these markets and consistent profits out of these markets as well. So yeah, those are some really like important things to think about. And of course, like talking about momentum, of course, right now we are in, we do have some bullish momentum going because we do have this bullish structure with these higher lows here, okay, and these higher highs. And it doesn't mean that we can't look for long trades somewhere down here. Of course, we're still following that momentum, right? We're still following that momentum, okay, but we're waiting for price to pull back before getting into a new long trade, right? Of course, we're not looking to long up here, right? We're not looking to long this breakout, right? That's exactly what 19 million, right? 19 million um, new short traders did, right? 19 million people longed this breakout. Okay, you can see here 19 million long the breakout. Okay, what happened? They are now underwater, right? They are probably going to have to cover if they haven't covered already. Okay, so again, we can look for momentum. I do believe that momentum is very important. I can see here the momentum is towards the upside, right? But I'm never going to follow that momentum, right? I'm going to wait for price to pull back, okay? Then I'm going to take, a trade that I believe, okay, is a valid trade, right? So possibly we come down here. Let's say we come down to a GP7, and this is like a valid setup that we could see, right? This is a very valid setup. We have a GP786 level. We probably have a naked point of control. Yep, 55,725. We have a naked point of control coming in there. Okay, so if we see price actually pull back a little bit further than I've drawn it here, okay, to the naked point of control, right? We take that out. We see absorption coming in, right? So we take a look, of course, at the at exo charts, okay? And if we can see absorption coming in, which I mean, right now, we do already have absorption coming in here, right? So we see that the shorts that are opening up here are actually being absorbed. What time frame are we looking at this on? A 30-minute, right? So we can initially come lower all the way to this GP786 with the naked point of control, and there is a possibility that we could see CVD ticking down below these lows here. Okay, and for me, that's going to tell me that absorption is occurring, and when that absorption is occurring, of course, then I'm thinking to myself, okay, right, this is looking actually quite bullish. Okay, we've got some support here. We have absorption into the level. I can look for this long trade, right, and look to take this long trade, to this high, okay, and above, right, and above that high, because we're in this bullish market structure. So this is how I would follow momentum, right? But I wouldn't, I wouldn't, like initially just follow the momentum by longing this here. Okay, that's just the complete wrong way to be looking at it. Okay, so any long trade that I'm going to take, following momentum, right, following this bullish market structure, will be off of a pullback. Okay, and I need to see a valid trade setup to actually initiate the trade, right? Initiate the long trade, right? For me right now, there is no reason to enter into a long trade where we are right now. Yes, we are seeing absorption, like I just showed here. Okay, we have local absorption occurring, but I don't have a major level here that is a level of interest of mine. So, I'm not really too interested in it whatsoever. But, yeah, I guess, yeah, I didn't want to go into too much detail with everything, because I understand, I had a huge rant about it all yesterday, and, reasons to believe why I think we could see lower from here. But yeah, I hope that has given you some valuable insights on what I'm looking at and looking for within these markets. Of course, if you want to more in depth, like my rant that I went on yesterday about it all, then yeah, of course you can watch yesterday's live stream. That's when I went into lots of detail in it, but yeah, I don't want to go over all of that again for any of you that were watching yesterday. So yeah, if you haven't watched that, of course you can watch that. And of course, if you are watching this, and if you are new to the channel, maybe you've just joined. I am currently long on Bitcoin. Okay, I'm currently long on Bitcoin, and yeah, initially I am looking for higher prices here. But I need to see longs coming into the market, right? That's what I need to see, because yeah, again, like I've been talking about, the context is very different here than back here when we took that previous long trade, because back there we had lots of fear coming in, we had lots of shorts coming in, price from the failed auction, then there's a reason for price to rise because shorts cover buying back into the market. We didn't have the shorts coming in here, so there's no reason at this moment in time, unless we get the longs coming in, for price to rise, okay? Because there's no shorts that need to cover unless we start getting back up to like $60,000, but we haven't got there yet. Okay, if we get $60,000, then I get a little bit more bullish, because then I understand, okay, there's a reason for price to rise, because now we are putting the short traders from here offside, okay, and we can look for higher prices there. I've just seen a new comment come in. Let's bring up the chat. Eric, good to see you back, my friend. I hope you are doing well. Hello, AJ. Bitcoin was rejected at 200-day SMA again. Not a good sign in my opinion, but ETFs are buying the dip. S&P 500 and NASDAQ are at all-time high. Everything is at all-time high. Just Bitcoin is dropping. Yeah, initially, that's what I briefly spoke about. Today, and of course, I went onto that rant yesterday. Let's have a look at that smooth moving average. Let's have a look at that. 200. Yeah, so from what I can remember, Eric, I think it was you who was looking at the 200 SMA a while ago, and I mean, yeah, we've lost it here. We back tested it as resistance, okay, and we are rejecting off of it. Initially, if this is something you like to look at, then yeah, you can consider this bearish, right? And this has been really well respected, right? Really well respected. Look at the amazing buying opportunity that we had there. Okay, look at the the loss of the level. You can consider that bearish, right? We then got the back test as resistance. We got the rejection off of it, but then we tested it again. Okay, rejection again, rejection. We finally got above it, getting above it, back tested at support. That could have been a nice buying opportunity, right? Of course, if you were looking to short it here, you probably would have taken a loss, but then on the reclaim and the back test, you could have taken a nice long trade that would have paid for the loss and much, much more as well. So, here, if you're looking to trade this, then initially, yeah, you've lost this, you back tested it, and you are rejecting from it. So, if I would never trade like this, this is not like my style of trading, but if I was looking at this, this is kind of what I would look for, right? It's a very nice tight stop loss as well. You can be putting your stop loss above that wick high there, okay, and you can be targeting like 51,700, because that for me is that next major level of support. If we lose that, then we can be looking for like $43,000. Yeah, so again, this is like a trade that I would never take, to be honest with you, but yeah, it doesn't mean to say that it's not a valid trade, right? It's not a valid short trade. It's got a really nice risk to reward ratio on the trade as well. So yeah, that could be a really nice trade, to be honest with you. For like a swing trade, right? A nice swing trade. But yeah, I did see something on Twitter saying that the ETFs are slowly buying up, and I mean, like, you have to remember, okay, the people who are the people who are like running these ETFs, okay, they know what they're doing in the markets, right? They know what they're doing, okay, and a lot of them are going to be stupid to buy up at these prices, right? So they're not, they know that it's stupid to buy up at these prices, okay. So we're not going to see, in my opinion, we're not going to see huge inflow into these ETFs of Bitcoin unless we see a bigger pullback, right? Because the people that are running these ETFs, they're not stupid at all. They're not stupid. They're very smart. They know when to buy. Okay. So we are seeing the ETFs buying the dip, right? But if we move further down, right, and this is why I think that the ETFs are like not really bearish on the short term, but you could consider it bearish on the short term, but like more bullish in the long term, because on any major big pullback that we see now and big bear market, right, we're going to see these ETFs loading the hell up on Bitcoin. We just are. Okay. And we're going to see more buying of the dip. We're going to see the ETFs buying the dip more, okay, with it in a bear market, in my opinion, right? Because these people that are running the ETFs, they know what they are doing. They know when to buy. They know when to sell, right? They know right now is a bad place to buy. Okay. So yeah, right now I don't think that we've seen um, the real power of these ETFs yet. I don't believe. Okay, I think if we do get a bigger pullback to $43,000, then I think we're going to see some big inflow of Bitcoin into these ETFs. Lots of buying into the ETFs. So yeah, that's when I would consider it bullish. Okay, then long term, right? We can take this back up to all time high. So yeah, that's how I am kind of looking at it. And yeah, to add on to what you said about the S&P and the Nasdaq, okay, at all-time highs and like continuing to make all-time highs literally almost every day. Okay, for me, again, yeah, that's still very bullish, right? Again, literally as we speak, we're making all-time highs. Again, as we speak, we've just made a new all-time high on the S&P 500. Okay, literally as we speak. So for me, as long as this is continuing to go up, I still believe Bitcoin is going to make a new all-time high. Okay, possibly towards the end of this year, maybe start of next year at the latest, right? At the latest. Okay, I still think Bitcoin is going to make a new all-time high, and I don't like to I don't like to really predict when we're going to see a certain price level, because I'm not really too bothered on it. I'm not really too bothered about it because I'm literally just focusing on the trading aspect of things. But just going back to what happened in 2021, where we had Bitcoin, huge rise up, right? I'll go over it very quickly again. Bitcoin, huge rise up, then the pullback, right? What happened in the stock market, okay? Well, we saw stock market just continuously rising, okay? Even when Bitcoin was having this pullback, right? Even when Bitcoin was having this pullback, stock market continuing to rise, right? Then Bitcoin had a turnaround. Bitcoin started to rise. What was the stock market doing? Okay, and actually, Bitcoin made a new all-time high. What was the stock market doing? Well, the stock market was continuously making new all-time highs, right? And then the final all-time high was like third of. I know this is on the weekly, but let's just call it the 3rd of Jan. Okay, so the start of Jan was the final all-time high that we had on the stock market, and then we had that bear market. Okay, so the start of 2022. Where did we pull back? Okay, the end of 2021 on Bitcoin. Okay, the end of 2021, right? We started to pull back, right? And on the start of 2022, okay, that's when we started to see the stock market pull back. Okay, so you can see how correlated they are, right? But of course, we have got this. We've got this slight period here where they're not so correlated. Okay, and in my eyes, right, this is just giving me like more confidence that this is a pattern that is most likely going to play out again, right? Because we're seeing Bitcoin pull back like we did in 2021, but the stock market is continuously making new all-time highs. Okay, so I think that a bigger pullback to $43,000 is probable for then a move to all-time high, right? Maybe it could be a move to 51,700, then to all-time high. We don't know. I'm just looking for those major, those key levels, which of course is 51,700. If I see the bullish reaction there for the long trade, I will take it there. If we don't get it, I will look for $43,000. and I will look for the bullish reaction there for the trade. If we get it, I will take the trade and I will look for all-time high. Okay. So yeah, this is, this is exactly what you were saying. S&P and Nasdaq are at all-time high. Everything is at all-time high. Just Bitcoin is dropping. I don't necessarily think this is bearish for Bitcoin at all. I don't necessarily think Bitcoin is bearish. Okay, locally, yes, we can say Bitcoin is bearish, but realistically, if we're seeing something like this is just another buy the dip opportunity or long the dip opportunity. Okay, I don't see this as anything extremely bearish. I don't see this as a reason why everybody should be getting extremely fearful. But we understand, the majority of the market do not think like that. Okay, the majority of retail traders are going to get very, very fearful on another move down, right? And they're most likely going to miss out on this huge move up. Okay, if they do, get extremely fearful here. Right. So yeah, initially I don't consider this. I don't consider this too bearish on Bitcoin whatsoever. And I don't consider another move down to $43,000 very bearish. Right. Of course, it is classed as bearish, okay, because we are pulling back, but I don't consider it in the grand scheme of things very bearish. Okay. I would expect price to go to all-time high from there. Okay. So it's it just all depends on how you look at it, right? It all depends on how you look at it, and yeah, I just don't see it as bearish. I think we can go to another new all-time high this year and at the latest like start of next year. But we still have a lot of time, so we'll see what happens. But again, it's just not all that bearish. I don't think it's not all that bearish. It's just it gives people like us, right, who understand, understand when people are getting fearful, when people are, when people are, getting really emotional in these markets. That's when we want to look to buy, right? That's when we want to look to buy. Of course, I'm talking as a like a longer term investor here. Okay, longer term, because we're looking at the weekly chart, right? But then again, as I said earlier in the stream, right? The same thing applies when you're zooming into the lower time frames, right? The same thing applies when you're looking at the lower time frames and you're looking at the trades, looking at taking trades on smaller time frames. Same thing applies. 43K is very possible. At this level, everyone will talk about we are in a bear market again. Yeah, exactly. You're gonna see everybody talking about this possible bear market, and I mean, it could flip into a bear market. Like I'm saying, I'm staying optimistic, right? I understand if we lose $43,000, and let's say we're getting a big pullback on the stock market. Okay, right, we can call this now a bear market. Okay. But if stock market is continuing to make new all-time highs and Bitcoin is just having this minor, I call it a minor correction. It is a pretty big correction, but in the grand scheme of things, this minor correction, okay, I'm not considering this a bear market whatsoever. Okay, but you know that everybody's going to be very fearful here, and it's going to, you're going to have what's his name, Jim Cramer, saying that Bitcoin's in a bear market, Bitcoin's going to zero, blah blah blah. That's how it all works, right? And that's exactly what happened here, right? Exactly what happened here, and then we got that next move back up, right? And that was a 55% pullback, right? All I'm looking for is a 42% pullback, right? It could come deeper, but I think if we're coming deeper, then that's when we get a little bit, not necessarily worried, because of course we should be prepared for this, right? But that's when we start talking about, okay, the bear market might be here, but only if the stock market is looking bearish. Okay. So I think I will leave it there. So I've been live for almost an hour. I've talked about everything that I want to talk about. So I will leave it there. Thank you very much, everybody who has watched. Thank you very much for everybody that has smashed that thumbs up button. If you haven't, please make sure you do that. And thank you for yourself, Eric, who has put your input into the chat. I do really enjoy listening to your guys' input, because of course, as I always say, I think as a trader, you are constantly learning within the markets, and I may learn a thing or two off of you guys, exactly like Eric has just said here, the 200 SMA, okay, this wasn't something that I was looking at, okay, but we've lost this. We've retested it, we've rejected from it, okay, historically, okay. Historically, this level has been a major level of importance, right? We've we've broken the level, back tested it as support here. Huge move up. Okay, we've seen a smaller version of it here where we've broken towards the downside, rejected from it, and then another move lower. This is something that I wasn't looking at. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much for putting your input into the market, so into the chat. Sorry. So yeah, thank you very much. Sorry for my English. I'm from Slovenia. Yeah, no, I think your English is really good, actually. Yeah, I can understand it also. Yeah, I think your English is really good. But yeah, again, Eric, thank you very much for putting your input into the chat as well. I do really appreciate that. So yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow for the next live stream. And yeah, I'm gonna go and watch the England game in a few hours. So I'm gonna get some jobs done, and then I'll watch the England game against the Netherlands in a few hours. So yeah, hope you have a lovely